I would like to call the meeting of the July 7th, 2020 Board of Selectmen to order and read the following. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to an order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12th, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. May I please ask that if there is anyone who is recording this meeting, that you identify yourself by either raising your hand. Okay, seeing none, before we move to the approval of minutes, I'm going to move ahead one thing from the town administrator report, and I am delighted to hand it over to Tom Mayo for an important announcement.
Great, thank you very much, Mary. Yeah, this is one item we want to make sure we get out there so that the community is aware of it. So I am extremely proud to announce that the town has received the highest credit rating of AAA from each of the three major credit rating agencies. That's Fitch, Moody's, and Standard & Poor's. On our Series 2020 general obligation bonds to fund the acquisition of the Weir River water system. All three rating agencies cited the town's conservative budgeting practices, prudent fiscal management, healthy reserves, and large affluent tax base in their decision to reaffirm Hingham's AAA rating. Rating analyses included the following. From Fitch, they had this to offer. The AAA rating reflects Fitch's expectation for the town of Hingham to maintain healthy financial flexibility through both the current downturn and future economic cycles, consistent with a history of strong operating performance and sound reserves. The town's robust financial profile reflects a wealthy property-based tax base, modest expenditure growth, and a demonstrated ability to reduce expenditures during economic downturns. Moody's had this to say. The town's financial position is expected to remain stable over the next 2 years due to strong fiscal management and conservative policies. Annual operations in the past 6 years have produced year-over-year surpluses in the general fund. This trend, along with the strength of the management team, support our expectation that the establishment of a water enterprise fund will be a self-supporting operation. From Standard & Poor's. Hingham's financial management team has a demonstrated history of producing year-end results that outperform the budget through conservative underlying assumptions and in-year monitoring of performance. The town's acquisition of its water system represents the culmination of nearly a decade of study, including external validation of financial models and projections. We believe the town is likely to show more than 1 times coverage over the next 3 years, leading to our view of full self-support of this issuance and improvement in the debt profile. I would like to thank the Board of Selectmen, the members of our finance team, including Michelle Monsegur, Sue Nickerson, Jean Montgomery, Rick Nowlin, and Erin Walsh for their diligent efforts on behalf of the town. I would also like to express our gratitude to Janet Morley and Richard Tortora of Capital Markets Advisors, as well as to Bond Counsel Rick Manley and, of course, our General Counsel John Coughlin for their invaluable advice and guidance along the way. This is really great news for the town. It sets us up for what we hope will be a successful transition here in the coming weeks. So take it away, Mary.
Well, thank you. I wanted to say a couple things, but first I'd offer my colleagues a chance to comment. Joe?
Well, I had the opportunity to speak with Capital Markets Advisors this afternoon, and their glowing description of our finance team was just unbelievable. And we can really attribute the AAA rating to the exceptional work and the exceptional performance that our team has provided. So thank you all.
Bill?
Yeah, just a lot of hard work by a lot of dedicated volunteers and a lot of very bright volunteers and a lot of great town employees. So it's wonderful news and it's a great way to start the meeting, Tom. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
and if I can just add, Mary, that your contribution to the team
Thank you.
cannot be overstated. It's just been remarkable. You are the spearhead for the Board of Selectmen in this, so really oversized thanks to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think if we were all in the office, I would stand on my chair and refer to Captain, my captain.
You know, I think anytime you get an affirmation of a AAA is a really big deal. But I think it's even more noteworthy when we consider the current climate that we're operating in. As Tom and Michelle and I see Sue Nickerson on the line, as they will attest to, we received a lot of questions about how the town is going to be navigating the pandemic. And
Someone's playing music.
Sorry, I'm trying to mute, it's not working. Susan?
Someone's put us on hold.
I'm gonna remove.
Thank you. But we got a lot of questions about how the town was going to be managing through the pandemic. And I can't say enough that the financial management plan that was put together, that was such a total team effort between the Board of Selectmen, the Advisory Committee, the School Committee, I think was just one of many illustrations to the town of our approach to things. And, you know, I would just remind people that what this does is, as we go out to borrow for the purchase of the water company, this affords us the best rates in the capital market. And, you know, as we were kind of thinking about doing this, some people said, well, gee, maybe you should do a revenue bond and not a general obligation bond. And we felt at the time that it was in the ratepayers' best interests to get access to the best rates in the capital market. And that's what this GO issue does. And I think it also just shows that as we try to look at everything, we're just really trying to look with Hingham's best interests in mind. And certainly as Bill and I, as Joe and I, as water commissioners, will be doing that for the water system. I would just also say that a AAA bond rating is not necessarily just a function of the people who are involved at the time. This is the steady financial stewardship that the town has shown that's gone, you know, not just with our finance team, but past and present members of the Board of Selectmen, past and present members of the Advisory Committee, members of the Water Company Acquisition Study Committee. You know, in particular, the financial analysis that John Asher and Ed Siegfried started in 2012 really set the table for things. And the overwhelming thing we heard from the rating agencies was how well thought out this was. And it just is, it's just such wonderful news coming at a great time. And, you know, so many people, as with so many parts of this water system acquisition, have been instrumental in it happening. So our thanks to everyone. So with that, I'm just going to move back to the next item on our agenda, which is the approval of minutes. And I think we have 2 sets of minutes for approval tonight.
Yeah, so I had thought that we had reviewed, maybe we didn't approve the June 10th minutes at the last meeting. I had circulated comments on June 10th as well as June 17th. I'm ready to vote for both of those. Just want to make sure that there's no other comments or concerns about them.
Bill, I'm good on both of them.
You know, obviously I wasn't on the board in June, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Joe, do you want to make a motion?
I move to approve the minutes dated June 10, 2020, and the minutes dated June 17, 2020.
Second. All those in favor, Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Abstention.
Mary? Aye. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing on the request of Comcast to install and maintain coaxial cable in the sidewalk in front of number 6 Station Street, continuing to number 40 North Street. Tom, I know that JR is on the line. I don't know if you or Michelle want to kick this off, or if...
I think we could turn it over to JR. He's here. Heidi is here as well if we have questions, but between the JR and Heidi, we should be able to answer most.
And
Okay.
Susan Murphy's here too.
Okay.
And Susan, yep.
Yep. Michelle, maybe if you could please make sure that everybody who needs to for this is unmuted. JR, we welcomed you, I think, a few weeks ago. It's nice to see you tonight. Perhaps you could just update us on this request.
JR, you're muted.
No, I'm not. So yeah, it is a request to install a new conduit below grade for the purpose of providing communications to number 6 Station Street. And to do that, they have to bring that line out of a handhole in the sidewalk on North Street and run it for 150 feet up to where they can access the rear of number 6th Street by recrossing the same sidewalk. The proposal is to put it pretty much in the gutter line, in the parking areas along North Street, and run it beneath the sidewalk onto the private property.
Okay. Joe, do you have questions?
Yeah, I just want to understand who is doing the work, because I'm looking at the plans and it says it's the 3rd page of the PDF, and it says proposed conduit pathway to be placed by developer. So is this a Comcast job or a developer job or a contractor job?
So it is the site developer's job, the property owner's job. He has a drain layer or a contractor that he's employed to do that work, to put the conduit in. Once the conduit is in and Comcast and the town approve the installation, then Comcast will run their cable through it.
Okay, so the grant of location we are granting to Comcast, is that correct?
We grant it to Comcast because Comcast will maintain it once it's in.
But in terms of the initial work, it's more than Comcast that's doing that work?
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, I've looked at the plans and this seems reasonable to me. I got no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
How long is the sidewalk or street going to be unusable for pedestrians or traffic, and how long will it take to do this, JR?
For better or worse, there was some miscommunication and they already got a little bit of the work done. We stopped them in the middle when we realized that the contractor was not aware that it required a grant of location in addition to a street opening permit. So they've already started the work. I think they got the trench initially excavated, and so that part went fine. They'll probably need another day to get out of the street, and beyond that, they can get the sidewalk usable pretty quickly, but they may not replace the brick the way it's supposed to be. That may be a little bit longer, take a little bit longer for them. That may be an extra day or two down the road.
The only reason why I bring it up, I know that pedestrians on that side of the street obviously need that sidewalk. Obviously, the sidewalk on the other side as well. But pedestrians coming down that side of it, we'll have to cross over. So anything you can do to mitigate the impacts on pedestrians would be appreciated.
Yep, absolutely.
I did have JR, just another, I'm sorry, Bill, are you finished?
I am, thank you.
JR, what's contemplated in terms of notifying abutters?
In terms of notifying abutters, we had, the owner had gone and he had already made aware to his abutters that there was going to be some work going on. And he did that on his own volition, and they saw the work that he was already doing around his property. So that part, it was kind of understood that it was part of his ongoing construction. I don't believe that he necessarily contacted people on the opposite side of North Street.
So going forward, what is going to be done for notice for abutters?
We'll have him hang some flyers tomorrow.
Okay,
Joe, you all set?
I am, thank you.
Okay, and
Our office has also sent out notices to all the abutters already.
Oh, did they? Okay.
thank you, Heidi.
Mary, before you call the vote, I am a direct abutters to 6 Station Street. And I've also very publicly supported the building over there. So I'm going to abstain on this one as well, just to let you know.
Okay. My only question was on notifications, so I think that's all set. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to ask a question or make a comment on this item before the board votes? Okay. Seeing none, Joe, would you like to make a motion? And with Bill abstaining, I'd be happy to second it.
Yes, I move to approve the petition of Comcast to install and maintain approximately 160 feet of communications conduit in North Street. The conduit will originate at the Comcast vault located at number 40 North Street and continuing southwest into the paved surface of the street for approximately 150 feet and crossing back under the sidewalk to provide service to number 6 Station Street. The approval will be subject to the stipulation of the Department of Public Works as outlined in the letter dated June 30, 2020. Mary, would you like those stipulations read into the record, or can we just incorporate them by reference to that letter?
We've usually just done the references. I mean, we've just, we haven't read those into the record.
Okay.
All right. Second, any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Abstention.
Mary? Aye. JR, thank you. Heidi, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is to consider a request from the launch at the Hingham Shipyard for drive-in movie night. I see members of our opening team present here. Who's gonna?
I think Susan Murphy is on. She might lead us in the initial conversation and then distribute.
Okay.
I think, oh, hi, this is Susan Murphy. I think Emily may have co-host duties and is going to put the plan up. But so this is the plan, but I believe that the representatives from Samuels are on the call and they can describe it. And then I don't know if Lieutenant DiNapoli is on the meeting, but he was the primary liaison for the working group. So I think you can, if the applicant can describe what they want to do, and then I think Lieutenant DiNapoli and the members of the police department can speak to kind of the safety issues.
Okay. And who, sure. So who'd like to speak to this first?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I am the property manager with Samuels and Associates, and I manage the Hingham Shipyard. My service manager, Scott Barisell, is on the call / Zoom as well. And we've been orchestrating the project and happy to run you through the approach that we have here and answer any questions, of course.
Thank you. Welcome. Why don't you give us an overview? The board has gotten a packet, but this is the first time that the public is seeing it. So perhaps if you could just give us an overview and then we can open it up to the board and then the public for questions.
Okay, just an overview of the plan, the entry, exit, just the schedule. Just want to make sure I'm covering all the bases correctly. Yes?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So yes, obviously in light of COVID-19, we aren't able to hold our regular concert and movie theater events that we would typically have in the summer months on Thursday and Friday nights. And had a good idea in conjunction with our movie theater Patriot Cinema to see if there was a way that we could convert a large section of our parking lot, which is not always used, especially in the late evening hours, to incite some entertainment as well as bringing the community back to the Hingham Shipyard, business increasing for our restaurants as well. So the proposal is for 4 Friday nights, starting hopefully this Friday with a pop-up movie theater. Tickets will be sold online through Patriot Cinema. We will work with our restaurants hopefully to provide some pick up fixed price menu items, given the short notice that we might not be able to pull all of that off by Friday, but regardless, visitors will be able to patron our restaurants. And we're working with a group called DMSE Sports who put together this plan that you see here. And obviously we met on site several times with the fire department and the police, and then worked on the plan with the working group last week. So essentially means of entry into the parking lot off of Essington, kind of where you see this double arrow in the left-hand screen where that blue dot is. Exactly, following that path along. People from the movie theater will be there checking people in. You can buy tickets online, show them your ticket. Some may do a printout, which is fine. And then the staff from DMSE will guide the customers, and I believe it's 91 spaces, is that we could spell 91 tickets to the respective parking spaces for the theater, which are the red X's you'll see on the plan, socially distanced appropriately, kind of in a zigzag format. You do larger trucks, kind of will be geared towards the back of the seating, the parking plan exactly, and then the front kind of, we're gonna load from the front back. So it's not gonna be, you can choose your own parking space. It will be a very controlled, directed, roll in and roll out approach. We have porta potties, handicapped accessible with sanitizing stations kind of at the bottom there, as you'll see, kind of neighboring the check-in, with the goal of stopping traffic. We're kind of at the end of that blue line there, you'll see a series of yellow dots. So we would have yellow cones kind of situated at the back of that row of parking spaces and then running across the road. So we wouldn't have any through traffic if people were still at the center, and really just control the entry and exit for movie theater patrons only. Hope that covers everything, but happy to answer questions.
Yeah. I didn't know if Mr. Barisal had anything to add before I ask maybe Lieutenant DiNapoli to just speak for the working group.
I think that's pretty well covered. I mean, if anyone has any questions, I can obviously answer them as well, but I think Rachel pretty much covered it.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Mary, one quick thing I did want to add, because it may come up in one of the questions from the board here, is that sound is transmitted via FM transmitter. So there is no sound heard throughout the Hingham Shipyard. It is all done over a radio transmission.
Okay. Lieutenant DiNapoli, in terms of the working group, what would you like to share with the board about sort of this proposal and the work that your committee's done?
So good evening, everybody. It's Lieutenant DiNapoli from the Fire Department. Rachel did a great job of explaining it. Originally, they were going to check in down by the actual movie theaters, and we kind of moved them over to where they are now on the side there, just to kind of give it more of a control, because we can actually, if we had to, if traffic started to back up, we could actually double stack cars coming in to get more people off of the main roadway and kind of away from the flow of traffic for the stores and things of that nature. So that actually worked out well. I've actually met on site with this DMSE company. They bring in everything. They bring the screen, they bring flaggers, they bring their own crews. They actually do this all over the country. This isn't a small operation. These are very professional folks that are bringing in everything that they need to do this. We discussed it. We kind of made some modifications. We added in the porta potties, just figuring that, originally we were talking about using the cinemas for restrooms, but distance traveled, going through the parking lot, just kind of easier to keep everything in that one controlled area. The shipyard's been great to work with on this. They put a lot of effort into this, a lot of thought process. This wasn't a fly by night type of thing by any means. We were actually able to use a lot of the notes that Sergeant Kilroy and I had gathered from the Scarlet Oak when they did their drive-in and provided to the shipyard, who will actually do a handout sheet as cars check in. They'll be given the sheet with the safety instructions, the restaurant instruction, everything that they could possibly have, or questions, that might need to be answered will be handed to them. So when they go to their parking space, everything's there for them. They're going to hire a police details as well as a fire detail for every night that they have in this, just as an overabundance of caution. Sergeant Kilroy and I will be on site the first screening just to make sure and kind of assess everything. And just like we did at Scarlet Oak, and if we need to adjust something or we need to, do whatever we need to do, we'll take care of it. We'll be able to assess it right there and, get it squared away. So the next week it's all ready to go. But we were actually pretty pleased. And like I said, the shipyard was actually great to work with on this.
Thank you. Before opening it up to my colleagues for questions, was there anyone else from the opening group that wanted to make a comment? I noticed that several are on the line tonight. Okay, Joe, questions on this?
I do. My first question is, what's the movie on Friday night? What's your
The
first movie?
future. Back to the Future.
Perfect.
Yeah,
That's great.
my children, 11 and 13, we gave them a ranking of about a dozen. And so we're going to do Jaws, Back to the Future, Despicable Me, and Raiders of the Lost Ark is the plan.
That's great. It doesn't look like the placement of the screen is going to adversely affect drivers on any of the roads or in the parking area, but what sort of assessment has been done just to make sure that there really is not going to be an adverse impact on drivers?
In what respect exactly do you mean, just to be clear?
Well, in other words, people driving, if the screen was placed in a way that it would distract either anyone on Route 3A or driving to another store or driving, someplace else, I'd be concerned. But it looks like the screen is placed so there will not be any impact. I just want to confirm that that's correct.
Yep. Yeah, and Scott, anything you want to add in there from your conversations with Ryan?
Yeah, specifically, we faced it away from 3A. When we started kicking this around, we debated putting it down the other end or putting it to a side, but technically it cannot face a main road when you set it up. And it does have a sizable row of trees behind it as well, so I don't think there'll be any effect.
Sorry. If I could just add that the residents of the moorings, Emily Wentworth, also submitted a letter of support. So they're the closest residents to the screen and seem supportive of the request.
Yeah, and thankfully also the windows that face into the parking yard are stairwells. They're not any people's bedrooms or living rooms or the such. So that's good as well.
So that was going to be my next question, which is the impact on the residents, but it sounds like that has been addressed. What directional signage is going to be used in that area so that people know how to go, where to go, how to come in, how to leave? And will that directional signage be removed so that during the day it's not there?
Yeah, DMSC will provide all the necessary signage as well as people to guide the traffic in. And yes, it will just be installed the night or the late afternoon gearing up to the showtime, and then removed and then hopefully put in place again the following Friday.
Okay. And in terms of parking and traffic management, it sounds like there's going to be a police detail or someone else who's going to direct to make sure that people park and drive in the right direction.
That will be part of the DMSE staff. I believe it's 5 or 6 staff members, Scott, if I'm not mistaken, for kind of the direction and crowd control. I believe, Officer Kilroy will be there as Lieutenant Napoli as another level of measure.
Okay. And I have a question about just general compliance with the COVID-19 regulations. Maybe Susan Sarney can comment on how this complies.
It's in compliance with all the drive-in movies. We entered phase 3 on Monday, and this is over and above those compliance standards.
Great.
And they'll be taking names if we have to do any COVID tracing.
And why would you need to do COVID tracing?
If there is a case and it was narrowed down, we have established like 6 feet social distancing, everybody's in their cars. It's highly unlikely, but the parameters that they're taking at the Hingham Shipyard are over and above what's required.
So if I drive there, someone will have my name and the name of the occupants of my car in case we need to do tracing.
Sure, yes.
Great. How will trash be handled? Are there trash receptacles? I just don't, we want to make sure that we don't have trash blowing around that area.
Yeah, I'll put out multiple barrels beyond what we have now, and I'll be there for every event, possibly one of my guys. So between me and DMSC, we'll take care of all the trash.
Perfect. Let me ask about the porta potties, the restrooms. How many are there? And what's the standard to know that we've got an adequate number?
I believe, Scott, if I'm not mistaken, we had talked to Ryan from DMSE, and I think based on the count was 2 the recommendation based on their experience. Is that why the number of 2 was suggested?
I believe that was yes.
Yeah, the state has a chart. This is Susan. The state has a chart on any outside venue, similar to when we have the 4th of July parade. We project how many porta potties are necessary, and they've done similar events in this area. So we projected that amount of handicap accessible porta potties to be adequate.
And I assume there's a schedule to make sure that those porta potties are cleaned or emptied, whatever the procedure is, so that we don't have foul odors in the area.
Right, and we took in phase 3, movie theaters are allowed to be open, but this venue wants to have porta potties that we can clean more readily than having the bathrooms at Patriot Cinemas or other bathrooms open in the area. We don't want to put an influx of people in the food establishments either. So this is a self-contained area.
Yep. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
And we can maintain the cleaning more than we can maintain the cleaning and push it off in the restaurants. We don't want to overburden the restaurants, and we're looking to just use them for takeout.
Yep. And if I'm in a car, how do I get to the porta potty? Is there a designated path, or how will I know the pathway to go that's the right pathway, the safest pathway?
Joe, I believe those will probably be on that sheet that they're going to hand out. Like I said, everybody's going to get that sheet in the beginning, advising in case of emergency, where the porta potties are located, what frequency you're going to need for your radio, for the FM transmitter. So that'll all be part of that package that goes out when you pull in and check in.
Okay.
Yeah, this map will be, just to add, this map itself will be tweaked to add that additional information to people. And it'll be a 2-sided flyer with kind of all the respective information handed once you check in, and then the moviegoer will put it on their dash. That's how we'll know that people have actually paid for the movies and have a valid reason to be parking and watching the movie, essentially, because I know that was a question and a concern at the working group meeting we had last week.
Now we'll also add into the COVID tracing, Joe, if something happens.
Okay. Yep.
I think the other thing too that we worked out with the committee, which worked well last week, was this will be completely separate, so it'll be shut down, so there won't be any cars driving through while the movie's going on either. That whole lane, once everyone's checked in, will be closed off. So, there's not going to be a multitude of cars trying to get to restaurants or anything. That whole area will be by itself.
If someone wants to leave mid-movie, are they able to leave?
Yeah, I actually talked to Ryan from DMSE about that today, and he said people bring kids and it gets a little bit late and they want to leave, and he'll work it out. They'll be able to get, in touch with someone, and we'll get them out of there.
Yep. Let me ask about noise, because I understand that it's radio transmission, so there's not loudspeakers. If everyone has their windows down in their car, is it likely we are going to hear a lot of noise?
I don't, yeah, it's hard to qualify what it's really going to be like, to be honest. I can't imagine, though, it's going to be as loud as if, you're in an old-time drive-in movie theater.
Yeah.
I think there would be some, but I don't think it would be an excessive amount of noise. But we could actually ask, DMSE as well for their insight on that, too.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And in addition to the noise from the movie, what about cars with their engines running? Are cars encouraged to keep them running or to turn off their engines?
Turn off their engines is going to be the recommendation.
So if the engines are turned off, that most likely means the air conditioning in the car is off, which means that the windows most likely will be down.
Correct.
Joe, if I might, when Scarlet Oak had done theirs, several patrons, obviously, it was the same idea, cars were off, windows were open and everything. I mean, obviously, this is a lot bigger area. We will have more vehicles, but it is a much bigger area. And, if you know where they were at Scarlet Oak in that back lot, if you went up to the top lot up near the building, you really were getting almost no residual noise.
Oh, that's great.
So there wasn't, I mean, sure, there was a, very slight overflow of noise, but it was minimal at best. So, I mean, it wouldn't even be going, I don't even think you'd hear it at the cinemas, to be honest with you, never mind into the residential area.
What about parking for the restaurants that are open? Is there available adequate parking so that this won't hurt their business?
Yeah, we feel comfortable with the remaining parking that's left, keeping in mind that there also is parking along Shipyard Drive as well. Almanove on the other side of Shipyard Drive has their own parking lot. So we felt comfortable that there was sufficient amount of parking remaining.
So
we discussed this with all our tenants. This isn't a surprise to them. They're all, on board and excited for it to happen. So we've discussed it with every single tenant in the shipyard.
Okay. Could you walk me through how, if I pull in, how do I order food? Do I order it from a restaurant or order it from the movie theater, or what's the process?
Sure. Well, I'll do the quick one first. Patriot Cinema is just going to have concessions available. I believe David's just talking about popcorn. So ideally, the last row of blue before the yellow cone, that area exactly, we'd probably work with him to set up a spot for popcorn sales there. What we are going to do is there's not going to be car hop service available, obviously. We will have on the flyer that we mentioned, we'll have a list of our restaurants and their phone numbers and specifically state to them, pickups, meals only, no car hop provided, just so they're fully aware. And Scott's had conversations with all the restaurants as well so that they're aware of the protocol. So you would just place your order at Wahlburgers if you want a $10 burger and fries and shake, and walk and go pick it up and come back to your car before the movie starts is the plan.
And there will, am I correct that there will be no pedestrians who can sit there and do the movie? You've got to be in your vehicle.
Correct.
I think this is a great plan. I appreciate your responses to all my questions, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, I just want to begin by commending the reopening committee for their work, not only on this project, but some of the great work they've been doing in the downtown area. So thank you all for your efforts, especially your flexibility to support our local businesses and to, follow the right pandemic protocols. So I want to thank everybody initially with that. Joe asked a lot of the questions. Joe, I felt like we were doing site plan review again together an application. If you were on the zoning board, I want to cover a lot of the areas I want to ask about. So I just wanted to confirm with you, Rachel. So it's going to be 4 Friday nights. Is that correct?
Correct. 4 consecutive Friday nights. So through the end of July, I believe is 31st maybe is the last Friday. But yes, 4 consecutive Friday nights.
And what are the hours of the movies?
I think we expected, given obviously, the later sunset, I think we talked about like 8:45 was like when the movie was going to commence, with wrapping up by 10:45. And according to DMSE, they can empty a parking lot in no time. They pretty much have it down to a science. So my bet is by 11 o'clock, everyone's out, DMSE is breaking down, and the show is closed.
Okay, and I did see the letter of support for the moorings. It was good to see that in terms of the butter supporting it. So I think this is going to be great. And I also love the fact you're not only offering this to residents, but you're also going to support the local restaurants.
Absolutely.
Which is
That was the
great.
goal.
Too. So,
Yep.
So it's kind of a win-win, I guess, in a lot of ways, which is great. So that's all I have, Mary. Thank you.
Okay.
Mary, I have two more questions if I can.
Sure.
First, if this is a success in the first 4 weeks, are you planning to extend?
I would like to be able to say yes. Financially, it's a big commitment. So ideally, we'd like to, but we're going to have to see how it all falls out. It's an expense that the property is taking on. We'll see. I would like to be able to, but I'm not sure, honestly, if we will. That doesn't mean in future years that we might want to have another conversation with this committee, the committee and the board to talk about it. But for this year, probably just going to be the 4 shows, but who knows?
Okay, actually, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I just had one follow-up to Bill's question about the hours. I did notice that the movie was starting at 8:45 and it looked like, 10:45, 11. Given that these are a lot of family movies and maybe I'm, oversharing as the girl who, could never stay awake till even the beginning of the movie, let alone through the end of it. I'm just also mindful of 91 vehicles leaving that area at 11 at night, that it is a residential area. And I noticed that in the materials, the screen, it said that the screen was constructed in a way that, you could view it in the daytime, you could view it at night. I reached out to the police chief on it this morning just to see if he was comfortable with it because of the residential area. He seemed okay. I think Sergeant Kilroy's on the line. I don't know if anybody has any concerns about the hours. But that was the only thing that that was the only unanswered question that I've got right now.
Ms. Power, if I may, we can also, the nice thing is Sergeant Kilroy from Hingham PD, if we can, the nice thing is that everyone here has been very flexible too. So, if we do get complaints, if we do have concerns, I don't see why we can't adapt the following week, or if we do need to address that. But I think I do concur with the chief that I trust the opinion of the people that have made the decisions thus far. Should be okay.
Thank you very much.
Mary, just following up on your question about hours, what about inclement weather? If it's raining, you still do the movies on a Friday night if it's raining?
Yeah, with this screen, they can do them in all weather.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I would just add that, the materials here in the McGilvery's, this really does look like it's just a very, very well-run operation. Yes. And I think that's just going to add to the enjoyment factor. Is there anyone on the line who wishes to either ask a question or make a comment before the board votes?
I do, Carol Meyer, if there's no one else that has a question.
No, Carol, go ahead. Good evening.
Hi, this sounds like really fun. So I just wanted to be sure from the Hingham Anchor, I missed one of the movies. It was Desperate something, I think. I couldn't hear it.
Despicable Me.
Despicable Me.
Yep.
Back to the Future.
Yep.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yep. And Jaws.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
And what was the fourth one?
Jaws.
Oh, okay. So there's Raiders of the Lost Ark. Sorry, Jaws. Back to the Future. And what was the fourth one?
Despicable Me.
Something.
Yeah, Despicable Me.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Just want to make sure I had it right. Okay. Thank you.
I don't know. This is great. At the shipyard, we're showing Jaws. That's not the real message we want to send there.
No, it's the last it's the last movie of the series. We figured it would be a good way to wrap it up. So
better that than Sharknado.
Yeah, I agree.
Would anyone else on the line question or comment?
Mary, I just had one suggestion that if this is Tom speaking, if Rachel, maybe you want to let us know how people can buy tickets and when.
Certainly,
Thank
yes. Yep, absolutely. We will be, my internal marketing team will be posting the events on the Launch It Shipyards, their Facebook page, excuse me, as well as the movie theater will be promoting it. We'll be working with our PR firm, buying everything online via Patriot Cinema, $20 a carload. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully that answered your questions, Tom.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Joe or Bill, would one of you like to make a motion?
I'm happy to do it. And Mary, I'll read the conditions of the motion as well. Do you want me to do that?
Yes, please.
I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the entertainment license application of the Launch at Hingham Shipyard for a series of special event drive-in movie nights, subject to the following conditions as follows. The applicant shall comply with the sector's specific COVID-19 workplace standards for drive-in movie theaters issued by the state on May 18, 2020, and attached to this license, as well as other applicable state and local regulations, including without limitation, Chapter 90, Section 16A, and implementing regulations thereunder. Special events may take place on 4 consecutive Friday nights, July 10th, 17th, 24th, and 31st, 2020. The event shall take place substantively in accordance with the parking map dated June 22nd, 2020, and presented at the July 7th, 2020 meeting of the board. Tickets may be sold in advance for up to a maximum of 91 vehicles. There shall be no amplified sound. All audio shall be directed to stereo systems in individual vehicles. Customers must watch the movie from their vehicles and remain in their vehicles at all times, except for concession table food pickup and to use the restroom. No customer shall be permitted to watch the movie from outside the vehicle. No food or beverage deliveries may be made to cars. No alcohol may be consumed during the event. Without limiting the foregoing references to state COVID-19 standards, all employees working at the events and all customers who leave their vehicles for any reason shall wear protective face masks and maintain 6 feet social distancing at all times. The applicant shall have sufficient staff to direct movie customers to the restroom and to the crosswalk that leads to and from the pedestrian sidewalks. For example, to pick up food, takeout orders from restaurants.
Bill, can you speak up a little more, please?
Sure. The applicant shall notify all ticket purchases and shall distribute upon entry a notice that informs attendees of the rules governing the event, including the prohibition on consumption of alcohol. The applicant shall hire a police detail for each night event. The applicant shall work with Hingham Public Safety prior to the event to prepare an emergency vehicle evacuation plan in the event of an emergency at the site. Based on conditions on site, as observed by the public safety detail, the town reserves the right to require modifications to layout and traffic flow for future nights of the event. Failure to comply with the conditions of this license on any event night may result in revocation of the license for remaining event dates.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye. Terrific. Thank you so much for putting this together. Thank you to the working group for helping make it all happen. And I think this is going to be great this summer.
Thank you for your support. We greatly appreciate it and hope to see you all in person at the movies.
Looking forward to it.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, before we go to the COVID-19 update, we have 2 possible votes. The first one is the issuance of a license. Tom, is that you? Is that Michelle?
It might be Heidi, actually, but I know that all the paperwork is in order for this.
Okay.
I was talking away
Chill
while
Gelato.
That's right. Thank you.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi, yeah, Chill Gelato is all set with their paperwork. Everything's in order. They're ready to go.
Okay. Joe or Bill, did either of you have any questions about this application?
No, I mean, it looks like it's in order. And am I correct? The address, it's 120 Main Street?
No, Chill Gelato is at the Derby Street Shops.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
their
That's-
business address. It's in the former Cold Stone Creamery location.
Got, oh, so it's 12, so I'm just looking at the,
1230 is the residence of the owner.
got it. Okay. Then I have no other questions.
Bill?
Their address is 92 Derby Street, just.
Yep. Suite 117. I see it.
No questions, Mary. Thank you.
Okay. I would just add that Gelato and Chill is actually, this is a family business. The Turco family has been in Hingham for nearly 20 years. They lived in Italy for a few years where Mr. Turco perfected the art of gelato. And this is just a really wonderful addition to Hingham. This is a local business, a great family. And I can only imagine how difficult it is to start to try to establish a business during this pandemic. So hopefully, as the Derby Street Shops continue to get activity, people will check this out because it is really delicious, and some of the things are just a little bit unusual. Would someone like to make a motion?
Sure. I move to approve the issuance of a common victualler license to Chill Gelato, LLC, DBA Gelato and Chill, located at 92 Derby Street.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye. Tom, perhaps you could just give an explanation for this next vote, which is a procedural vote?
Sure, let's make sure I'm not muted. This vote is just authorizing the chair to sign the documents related to the issuance of the water bonds.
Okay. And my understanding is that once the bond issuance takes place, as is standard practice, the entire board will make a vote in public following the sale, which is kind of what we normally do, have Jean come in and report on it.
That's right.
Okay. Joe or Bill, any questions on this?
So, Tom, I understand that you sent a memo to Jean sort of describing the structure of the bond issuance. And I've looked at it, it looks very complete. And having seen it, I am ready to move forward with this motion.
Yes, that's correct, Joe. And you'll notice this motion is referencing that memo. Thank you.
Bill, any questions?
I reviewed the memo and I'm prepared to vote.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion, please?
I will be happy to do so.
Bill?
I'd make a motion that the chair of the select board, the chair, is authorized on our behalf in consultation with the town treasurer.
Excuse me, Bill. Bill,
Yes.
if I can interrupt, are you looking at the most recent version of the vote?
I'm looking at the one that I received. I think it was this afternoon. Do you have a more recent one, Joe? You can read it if you do.
There was one that came in about 10 minutes before the meeting, Bill.
Joe, thanks for catching. So I did not see that one, Joe, so I'll let you roll with it.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
so I'll move that the chair of the Board of Selectmen, the chair, is authorized on our behalf in consultation with the town treasurer, the town's municipal advisor, and bond counsel to award the sale of the town's water bonds in the approximate amount of $106,740,000 to UBS Financial Services, Inc., upon such terms and conditions as she shall determine in consultation with the town treasurer to be in the best interest of the town, which shall be consistent with the memorandum dated July 7, 2020, from the town administrator to the town treasurer, and in connection therewith, the chair and the treasurer, acting jointly, are authorized to execute and deliver a bond purchase agreement between the town and UBS, which shall be in such form as shall have been approved by bond counsel.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye. Thank you. Tom and Michelle, COVID-19 and town services update?
Sure. Let me just get to it. Okay, so the COVID-19 update for today. Effective yesterday, July 6th, Massachusetts moved to phase 3 of the governor's reopening plan. Phase 3 will have 3 steps. In phase 3, step 1, the following enterprises and activities are allowed to reopen with restrictions: movie theaters and outdoor performance venues, museums, cultural and historical sites, fitness centers and health clubs, certain indoor recreational activities with low potential for contact. Professional sports teams, under the authority of league-wide rules, may hold games without spectators. And under the updated gatherings order, indoor gatherings are limited to 8 people per 1,000 square feet, but should not exceed 25 people in a single enclosed indoor space. Outdoor gatherings in enclosed spaces are limited to 25% of the facility's maximum permitted occupancy, with a maximum of 100 people in a single enclosed outdoor space. This includes community events, civic events, sporting events, concerts, conventions, and more. This order does not apply to outdoor, unenclosed gatherings if proper social distancing measures are possible. As of today, the DPH is reporting 104,799 cases in Massachusetts, of which 8,757 are in Plymouth County. As of last Wednesday, the DPH was reporting 278 COVID-19 cases in the town of Hingham. And I'll turn it over to Michelle for a town update.
Thank you. The Hingham Public Library started contactless curbside operations yesterday, July 6th. To check out physical materials from the library at this time, patrons can follow these steps, which are also outlined on the library's website. So first, log on to your library account online at hinghamlibrary.org or call the library at 781-741-1405, extension 0, to place holds on items from the Hingham collection. The library will call you to let you know when your library materials are ready and available for pickup. Then choose a pickup date and time between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Thursday or on a Saturday. You'll have 1 week to come in and pick up the holds after being notified. Holds will be available for pickup in the vestibule of the library's main entrance between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on the day that you choose. Items will be already checked out to you and placed in a bag with your name on it. Only 1 person at a time will be allowed to enter the vestibule. If there is a wait to enter, patrons should stand on the designated social distancing lines marked on the outside walkway. When you're done with your library materials, please return them in the outside book drops at the library. All returned items will be quarantined for 3 days prior to being checked in, and no overdue fines will accrue at this time. So we're excited to move to curbside operations at the library so people have some more options during this time. Our other update for town services is that we are starting the process of reopening town hall and other municipal facilities. At this time, town hall and municipal facilities are open to employees only. We will continue to serve Hingham residents and businesses to the best of our abilities, and we ask that you please continue to contact town departments via the email addresses and phone numbers that we've listed on our website at this time. Thank you. That's all for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both. Public comment, anyone on the line who wishes to make a comment on an item not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none. Tom and Michelle, I believe we do not have any appointments this evening.
Not tonight.
Okay, Bill and Joe, what I might suggest is on our meeting on Tuesday the 21st, perhaps if you could communicate to Sharon. She sent out a lot of information to us already. Typically what the board has done in the past is first we do a lot of reappointments. So if between now and then you could convey to Sharon whether you're ready to move ahead on reappointments for different boards and committees, then she can kind of keep an aggregate list I know I have a couple of follow-ups I need to do. I think Tom mentioned that, Joe, you may as well. I would just point out that we are also going through talent banks. So I believe we'll be getting information relative to appointments for some of the open positions on committees, as well as for committees created at town meeting. Okay, town administrator reports, Tom? Or
Not tonight. Yeah, that's right.
I always goof that up.
Nothing from me. Thanks, Mary.
Okay, how about selectmen reports, Joe?
Let me just get back to the appointments. We have, I believe we've got an upcoming meeting this Thursday. Do we want to address any appointments on Thursday, or would you prefer to push it off to the following Tuesday?
You know what, I think the agenda has already been posted for Thursday, and I don't believe appointments were on them. So when I spoke to Tom earlier today, I wasn't sure if that would be enough time. So I think if we do it on the 21st, that should work.
Okay. Just in terms of comments, I mean, we continue to see tremendous effort by a number of town departments. I really wanted to just call out one department this evening, the Hingham Police Department, for outstanding efforts. They've been incredibly busy with restaurant openings, addressing security issues in town, and actually assisting law enforcement in our neighboring towns. I saw on the news, I'm sure many of you saw on the news, the recent shooting at the South Shore Plaza in Braintree, where the Hingham Police Department was there providing assistance to our neighboring communities. I believe the chief is on the line. I don't know if you've got any further comments you wanted to make in terms of the incredible efforts that your department has been up to.
Thank you for that praise for the officers. The men and women of the department are really hardworking, and we're so fortunate to have them out there doing this kind of work. And they've always been there when we've needed them and when I've asked them to do stuff. So thank you very much for the praise.
Thank you. Mary, that's it for this evening for me.
Bill?
Just 2 points. I got an email from a resident in town who was also praising the Hingham Police Department, and it was Officer Ryan Ross. And I'm not going to go into detail with the story, but there was a baby choking in this resident's house. It was I believe it was his son, and Ryan responded to the 911 call within minutes or seconds. And when he got to the call, he took extremely quick action to likely save the child's life. So I sent the chief an email earlier, but I wanted to publicly recognize Officer Ross's efforts in a very difficult situation that ended very well. And the only other thing I would add to, I know I got a lot of my friends posting pictures and talking about July 4th not being the same this year, but we have a long history in our town of celebrating July 4th, and we'll be back next year and be better than ever. So year from now, we'll be looking at another great celebration in town. That's all.
Thank you. Just to pick up on Bill's comment about July 4th, it was a little bit different, and but yet there were a couple of things that stayed the same. The Earl family hung the flag in the front of their house as you go by Cole Corner, which was just a wonderful sight to see. The Hingham Fire Department hung the flags along Main Street, and on July 4th, I was actually driving down towards the square, and to see those flags and to see families running their own little road race was just really inspirational. And I also just did want to thank Diane DiNapoli, who organized a bell ringing at 10 o'clock in the morning all across Hingham. And maybe a new tradition, but maybe one that can complement the many wonderful things we do in our community. It did feel a little bit different, but also hopefully everyone was able to celebrate in a safe way. I'm just going to close out with one other thing, and Susan Sarney, I am really, really glad that you are on the line, because I just want to publicly thank you for everything you have done for this community since March. The pandemic has really strained all of us in a lot of ways, but I think executive health officers, more than anybody, it's a lot of new ground to navigate. It's things we've all never done before, and just the workload on a department that is, pretty lean and mean. Through it all, you have been responsive, professional, patient, focused on safety, but also trying to help us figure out how we navigate this world in a safe way, but still allows some of our businesses and our restaurants to thrive. And, just on behalf of the board and the town, we just can't thank you enough. We're so glad that you are part of our team. We know that we can continue to count on you as we move forward. I know with, questions about opening the schools and what that's going to look like. I know it's just so reassuring to residents and to department heads that we have, your guidance and judgment. And I just have to say, I've been doing Zoom meetings for like 4 months, and I've never seen so many people clapping on a Zoom.
Mary, can I just add something real quick to what you just said? So people don't realize this, and I'm going to stop Susan before she has a chance to get out of this, but she is on our incident management teams meeting daily for weeks. For months. We have an incident command group meeting daily since March. Susan is the rock. She is the guide on every decision that's made. She is professional. She's knowledgeable. She's pleasant. She's just an absolute thrill to work with. So thank you very, very much, Mary, for saying all that.
Well, it's well deserved, and as residents as well. Knowing that Susan and the opening team and everybody else is working with businesses gives us confidence to go into those businesses. And that's really important right now. So with that, we are going to have a short meeting on Thursday night. We've been asked by the Transition and Evaluation Committee to give some input into a time-sensitive water-related matter. And then I believe our next kind of formal main business meeting will be on Tuesday, the 21st. So I think no meetings next week unless some time-sensitive thing comes up relative to COVID. But I know it'd be good to have a week off if possible. So with that, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye.